Make it happen, that's the goal.
And welcome to another edition of Two Steps Ahead podcast, encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. I'm Son Edom. Coming up on the show, we are going to talk about something that has been going on probably since, perhaps maybe the beginning of time, or at least the beginning of academic time. And that is the topic of hazing. In Syracuse, New York, recently, a story came out about a hazing incident that authorities are calling hazing on steroids, going way too far.
Some West Hill boys lacrosse players did something D.A. Fitzpatrick calls incomprehensible last Thursday night.
They decided that they were going to haze or play some sort of prank on some of the younger members of the lacrosse team. There were at least 5 potential victims that the sheriff's department has identified.
One male student was under the impression he'd be bonding with some upperclassmen on the team. They were told they'd head to a lacrosse game and then to McDonald's for something to eat. Instead, he was driven to a remote part of Onondaga County.
People came out of the woods, all dressed in black. They were armed with what appeared to be at least one handgun and at least one knife. The individual had a pillowcase placed over his head. He was tied up and placed in the trunk of a car.
Sheriff Toby Shelley and the DA agreeing this is way beyond hazing.
If you're one of the, we believe to be 11, perhaps more, people that were involved in this, you have 48 hours to turn yourself in to the sheriff's department.
If they don't come forward, they risk being charged and prosecuted as an adult for crimes including felony kidnapping. We asked what his message is to the parents who may be encouraging their children not to come forward.
Attica is full of children of parents just like you.
Aside from the victim's road to recovery after what happened, the DA says this could have been far worse.
If one of Sheriff Shelley's patrol officers had been on duty and passed by the scene, they would have come out of their vehicle with their guns drawn. And if one of these young people foolishly pointed a weapon in the direction of the officer, you can only imagine what could have happened.
Yeah, imagine what could have happened. You've got a gun involved. You've got a pillowcase over the head of a student or a teammate. Tie him up, put him in the trunk of the car. Somebody's been watching too many mob movies. Goodfellas. But hazing gone way too far. And it's been going on for, like I said, as long as we can remember. And for some reason, sports teams, fraternities, sororities, other clubs, they all think it's a rite of passage. Happened to me, so I'm going to do it to you. Or for some reason, they think by hazing them or by putting them through these rituals, the victims are proving their loyalty, their commitment. There's nothing to be proven from this type of behavior. There's no justification for this type of behavior, but yet they do it. They do it in the name of tradition and group identity. Now, there are some sports entities like Major League Baseball, for example, that might have some sort of, you could call it pranking or hazing, but it's not to this level. For example, the last time I've seen a team, and it's usually once a year, where in baseball, the teams might have to dress up in a certain themed costume when they arrive to the ballpark or when they get off the airplane. Or perhaps maybe they have to buy everybody's dinner as a part of the tradition or something of that nature. You know, there's always some sort of, or like, for example, when somebody hits their first major league home run, the guy's all excited, comes back to the dugout, and he's given the silent treatment. Nobody's giving him high fives. Nobody's cheering him on. Everyone's just quiet, ignoring him. And then after a few moments, they all start celebrating with him. So there are some things, traditions, pranks, group identity of things that can be good, healthy, and fine. But when it becomes demoralizing, when it becomes humiliating, when it becomes to the point of causing hurt, harm, psychological issues, stuff like that, mistrust, loss of trust, that's when it becomes problematic. And people will continue to do it. But beyond the group identity and the team tradition of this rite of passage, you've got people that do it for power and control. And that seems to be a lot in these type of incidences, especially with these younger people, especially in like fraternities and sororities. You get these people on power trips and they think that they're better than everybody. So they have this authority and this dominance that they want to display over newcomers. And then it kind of, I guess, goes with reinforcing the hierarchy of these groups. I'm the chapter president of my fraternity. Therefore, I'm going to put you through these things. I mean, just think about how it's reinforced in movies. You think about maybe The Breakfast Club, when Emilio Estevez's character, he gets detention because what? He taped the buttocks of another wrestler, and he wanted to try to get some sort of accolades or acceptance by doing that. And so that was his hazing. Or you think about, I think it's the movie Van Wilder, where there's a scene where Tara Reid's character is doing a newspaper article on another student, but yet she's the girlfriend of the president of the fraternity, and they're all lined up. All the pledges are lined up kind of on a step in the basement of the house, and there's all kinds of corn chips on the ground, and the fraternity president is describing it as glass and how they have to jump on it and it's going to rip their tendons and all this stuff. And then she whispers to them, it's corn chips. And so on the count of 3, they're supposed to jump. But then on the count of 2, they all jump and start doing a river dance type jump and dance. So, you know, you see hazing displayed in movies from a comedic perspective as the corn chips, AKA glass, or in something a little bit more serious like The Breakfast Club with the buttocks being taped together. Or you can look at a number of movies that are way worse than that. Dazed and Confused, another movie that shows, I think, these girls in a sorority or whatever down on the ground with pacifiers in their mouth doing whatever it is. I've never seen the movie. I've just seen a little clip of the hazing aspect of it. But again, there's all different kinds of things that are portrayed in the movies and people think it's okay. But it comes from a situation of power and control. Or what about the misguided concept of bonding? Suffering creates a stronger bond. Enduring a hardship together builds loyalty and trust. Really? Maybe it works for you. I don't know. There's also that revenge or that cycle of abuse that happened to me. I'm going to do it to you, especially in the fraternities. We had to go through these pledging scenarios that have been traditions passed on from year to year to year, from class to class to class. But yet we're going to, instead of think of it as like, I didn't like it when it happened to me, so we're not going to do it anymore. It's going to be like, well, it happened to me, so we're going to do it to you. You have to earn your place. Or what about just peer pressure? I remember growing up, I think it was middle school or something, the hazing of canning. You remember that? You put someone in the trash can, you put a freshman in the trash can. That was supposed to be like a hazing or a prank. I don't know if people really did it, but swirlies, stick someone's head in the toilet and flush it. I don't know if that ever happened. I've never witnessed it or heard of anybody that experienced it, but that was out there in urban legend pop culture. But people would do it because of peer pressure. Or you do other things because everyone is telling you to do it. And yet we continue on. There's also, especially when you get into situations of potential, and a lot of times you hear about it, it happens in, well, like gang initiations or in areas of wealth for these young kids that come from wealthy families. You see it all the time. There's just a lack of accountability. They don't have strong oversight, and there's no consequences to what they do. People get away with it, so it can flourish unchecked. And then also hazing, whether it's a sports team, probably more specific with sports and maybe a thing like wrestling or perhaps football, but it equates with toughness. We're going to haze them because we want to become tough. We think hazing and toughness go hand in hand. So they're going to try to build character and resilience and toughness through hazing, through putting our teammates the younger ones especially, in a situation that ultimately does them more harm than good. And it's all in the name of bonding, right? All in the name of join us. Go through all of this and you can join us. Outside of the military, where you have to go through, some hardship, the drill instructors and other people putting you through hardship for the tearing you down and then building you back up so that you become one in the military, act as a unit. Outside of that, there really is no reason for anybody to be torn down because the building up doesn't take place. We're not stripping away the laziness, the overweight, the bad habits, the lack of discipline that you might see for people entering the military, and building up with discipline, motivation, better eating habits, a healthier weight, working together as a team, problem solving, not complaining, taking responsibility. Those type of attributes you find in the military, right? You kind of do away with the negative and you bring up the positive. But when it comes to hazing, whether it's a team, a fraternity, a club, especially when it comes to things like pulling out a gun, putting a pillowcase over their head, dumping them in the trunk of a car, or alcohol or sexual abuse, there is nothing good about that. It's all negative. So what happens to those people that are being hazed? Well, first and foremost, you're going to have anxiety and depression set in. Research has shown that people that have experienced hazing, and again, it also depends on the type of hazing, okay? That could influence how it affects. A sexual type of hazing obviously is going to be something that's probably a little bit more dramatic in the reaction to it from a psychological perspective and all that, and that could go on for a lifetime. Being the victim of a sexual crime is going to affect you a lot differently than, let's say, having to dress up as Woody from Toy Story and run around the bases, or having to buy an expensive dinner for the star players. There might even be a psychological difference. It's not any better, it's just as bad, but a psychological difference between having to be forced into drinking alcohol. The consequences could be worse as far as death. But again, what you endure may affect you differently. It's all bad. But anxiety and depression could set in. And it could be long lasting. There could be the low self-esteem. Being humiliated and physically abused can damage self-worth. We already have social media to ding our self-worth for those that are exposed to it, especially the younger people. You talk about tweens, you talk about teens, even young adults, especially girls and women, young women, affected by social media and the low self-esteem because they don't look like the people on Instagram. They're not getting the likes. They're not getting the views. They're not getting the comments. They're not getting the love. Now imagine taking that and being humiliated on top of it. Being made to do things that embarrass you, or worse, the physical abuse. Whether it's the paddling that a lot of people thought would be innocent pranks, right? Wasn't there a movie scene where Kevin Bacon gets paddled? Thank you, sir. Can I have another? Maybe that was Animal House. And it goes from there. And then you have, besides the anxiety and depression, you have low self-esteem. You've got PTSD, the post-traumatic stress. And a lot of times it could lead to nightmares, flashbacks, hypervigilance, a strong reaction to another incident that might be innocent, but yet because it takes you back to what you experienced, you have a reaction to it. So you're going to have PTSD. You're going to have isolation. Victims, they're going to withdraw. They don't want to be a part of social situations anymore. Definitely don't want to be a part of the team anymore. Like that kid in Syracuse. They brought out a gun, put a pillowcase over his head, stuck him in the trunk of a car, tied up. Would you want to be a part of that group anymore? And now here, this young kid, I would suspect a freshman, with his whole career of high school and maybe college, depending on how good he was, maybe he doesn't play lacrosse anymore. So now he's isolated. He's alienated himself. And then the rumors that spread. Now, in this particular case, the victim was told, we're going to go see a game and get McDonald's. And it turned out to be something completely different. Now, he's going to have trauma, perhaps. Who knows? We'll have to see. Time will tell. But from an outsider's perspective looking in, nobody as far as who's going to tease him, who's going to taunt him. Probably nobody would be my guess, because a gun was pulled on him. He was kidnapped. A little different than perhaps some other things that students might endure that are embarrassing, that are in front of the entire school for them to see. And then the snickering and the whispers and the talking behind the back on campus. That could add to it. But again, you start to withdraw from that. You start to isolate. Again, Breakfast Club. Emilio Estevez's character tapes the buttocks shut. He gets detention. Imagine that kid now, the victim, walking around school. Probably left. Probably went to a different school, right? We did an episode here about Aubrey White, a young teenage girl, 14, 15, from Mississippi, that was bullied and cyberbullied to the point where she committed suicide. Now, she didn't go through any hazing that I'm aware of. She was just cyberbullied and bullied to the point of where she took her life. So now imagine having to go through something that has the stigma. See, in cyberbullying and bullying, which is something different than hazing, you don't do anything. You're not involved in anything. Someone could just pick on you for the sake of picking on you. But when it comes to hazing, now you have done something, you've been involved in something, you've been forced to do something, and now there could be that stigma attached to it. That leads to further PTSD, that leads to further low self-esteem, further isolation, further anxiety and depression. And then, of course, work and academics. Probably drop out of school because you have stress and emotional pain. Can't concentrate. Always thinking about what happened. Maybe blaming yourself. Victims blame themselves all the time for something that they had nothing to do. So you get poor performance. And because the pain is there, because the agony is there, because the nightmares are there, and you can't forget it. You can't forget having a gun pulled on you with a pillowcase over your head by people you trusted. Now you're stuck in the trunk of a car by people you trusted, by teammates, by leaders of the program. So perhaps you want to numb the pain, substance abuse, alcohol, other things to help numb the pain. And then now all of a sudden you have these negative habits that you're using to try to cope with. So those are some of the things that people who are hazed could go through. But what about the people doing the hazing? What are some psychological effects that they might be feeling? Well, the first thing might be moral disengagement. I'm justified in what I'm doing. It's just tradition. Come on. They need to toughen up. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not guilty. So they convince themselves that their harmful actions are really just justified, and it's not me, it's them. It's the other people. It's the other people that have the problem, not me. They become desensitized. They become dull from empathy. They have no empathy. They make harmful behavior feel like it's normal. And it might lead over or bleed over to other things, not just hazing, but maybe a pattern of behavior that continues to decline and erode away any sense of morality. And it gets into something worse and worse and worse. Apparently, there is a study of the brain. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but when you first watch something, let's say like pornography, it has an effect on you, stimulation. But the more you watch it, you become sensitized or desensitized to it. And it takes more and more and more of whatever to get you excited. Okay. Pictures aren't enough. So a magazine isn't enough. You need videos. Those certain videos aren't enough. So now you need these type of videos or this type of genre or this type of activity or this type of imagery. And it gets worse and worse and worse to the point where you've gone beyond anything in the video world gets you excited. So now you have to go into the real world to get that fix. That's the same with hazing. You get so used to whatever it is that you have done that it goes beyond the team, beyond the club, beyond the fraternity into real life. And then people are just pawns in your sick fantasies. So you become morally disengaged when you are doing the hazing. It's justified, it's their fault, toughen up, etc. They become desensitized and make that this abnormal behavior is normal. And then the peer pressure, the group think, I'm going to go along with it because I don't want to be left out. I'm going to go along with it because I want to be a part of the group. Yeah, I experienced it, so you should experience it too. That's just the rite of passage. See, it takes a strong character and strong individual to step up and stand on your own and go against that group thought. We see it all the time. Social media is one big, huge group thought. You see it over and over and over again. There is not an original thought on social media. Some bot or something creates an account, puts up a video with an agenda, and all the people suck it up, the so-called sheeple, suck it up, and they just repurpose it. For example, and this is how lies and everything take place. Carmelo Anthony, the 17-year-old in Frisco, Texas, that took a knife and stabbed Austin Metcalf, allegedly, and killed him, allegedly. It was a knife, allegedly. And then all of a sudden, everybody spun it on social media as it was a spike sharpener, a cleat sharpener. What the hell is that? It doesn't even exist. Now here, quick side note, critical thinking skills, think for yourself, do your own research. Don't just listen to XYZ, including me, do your own research. So I'm like, no, this thing does not exist. I go to onesportinggood.com. I check out their website. Struck out, 0 products. So I type in first cleat sharpener, then spike sharpener, strikeout, doesn't exist. I go to a second sporting goods website, type the same stuff in, nothing. Do a third sports site, even go to Amazon. We all know when you go to Amazon, you type in something, you get everything else. So I was getting carburetors and windshield, whatever. So nothing existed. This so-called cleat sharpener, spike, did not exist. So I knew it, but I checked it. It doesn't exist. So it just reiterated or reinforced my thinking that, yes, this thing doesn't exist, complete crap. But yet people will just continue to run with it because they have an agenda. Their agenda is a political agenda. And so they become desensitized to truth because they just want to fit an agenda, an ideology. That's the same when it comes to people that are hazing. You can groupthink, peer pressure, whatever you want, become so tight-knit with dissent that truth doesn't matter. The fact that we're hazing this person, pulling a gun on them, sticking him in the trunk of the car, the pillowcase over his head, we're forcing them to drink lots of alcohol, or we're doing this unthinkable thing, you don't stop to think, wait a minute, we shouldn't be doing this? And many people have lost their lives over this. And then, of course, you've got some more, I guess, rational consequences, such as guilt and regret. You struggle with what you have done. You do recognize the harm that you caused. And so you're like, I shouldn't have done that. But the deed is done. Now what do you do? And then some people get an inflated sense of power. You know, boost the self-esteem, feelings of control, repeating the process over and over and over again. So you see, hazing, when it comes right down to it, harms both sides. Victims can carry emotional scars, and the perpetrators, they can risk moral and psychological damage, even if they don't see it right away. And that's the thing. When you're young, you don't see it right away. We're into instant gratification. Everything now. But what about delayed consequences? Your consequences might not hit now, but it might be delayed consequences. In this particular case, in Syracuse, it was turn yourself in within 48 hours, otherwise suffer some major consequences. Right now, from what I understand, the consequences could be family court and eventually a dismissal or a this will not go on your permanent record type of thing. Don't turn yourself in 48 minutes or 48 hours, and you could be charged with serious felonies and end up in Attica. So again, the psychological effects are damning for both sides. And for those that don't realize it, the doers that don't realize the damaging effects, now you're really on a path that could really lead to some ultimate destruction. Instead of hazing, what are some more healthier, positive, effective ways to bond? Remember, I don't know if you saw the movie The Wedding Planner was it Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey? There's a scene where they're at some castle far away or a remote destination for this wedding because Jennifer Lopez is the wedding planner and Matthew McConaughey is getting married to somebody else, but then there's that love triangle thing going on, whatever. Well, so then there's another character that comes into the picture who is supposed to be the love interest of Jennifer Lopez's character. Matthew McConaughey as his fiance. So it's a big foursome thing. But the one guy who's pursuing Jennifer Lopez that comes from another country, Sicily or wherever they're from, is going to hang out with Matthew McConaughey's character. And he suggests, let's go to the gym, do some male bonding in the gym. They're going to go work out. So something positive to work out with and do some bonding. Not hazing, not destructive, building up, getting strong, doing something positive. So again, what could you do to have some healthier, effective ways to group bond? Well, the first thing you could do is team build. Now, again, these could be just some suggestions. You can come up with your own, obviously. But things like, for example, rope courses. What's a rope course? I don't really know. But you could do some rope courses like, go to these places that have different challenges. I know one group that took a football team one year, a few years back. They went away for the weekend to do paintball. At some paintball a weekend. Escape rooms. Escape rooms can be a lot of fun. I did an escape room one time, and we had an excellent time doing it. We came out of the escape room a lot more closer, and this is family. We came out a lot closer than we were when we went in. You can have, I think another thing we did as a baseball team one time, we got together because our field was crap. And so we all got together and started working on the field together. Instead of practicing, we just worked on, let's clean up the field. Let's make the field more enjoyable to play on. Let's get the rocks out and do all this. So we just came together to enhance. We painted the dugouts. We put a logo up. We did things team bonding wise to make our field much more enjoyable. So that's something that we could do. experiences that have cooperation that don't do anything that's harmful. Pizza night, movie night, going to a ball game. There was a time I worked at a radio station, the Frank Sontag Show, and we all went to a Dodger game. It was about 7 or 8 of us went to a Dodger game. And that was fun. Get outside of the office, so to speak. And, some of this bonding stuff can be, you don't have to be a fraternity, a sorority, a club, an organization, a team. It could be people that work together. Teachers, businessmen, others, just doing something that's fun. And you do it together as a team. And so maybe if the escape room or perhaps the paintball weekend or whatever else you can come up with isn't your cup of tea, what about doing some volunteering? My senior year in high school, there was a group of us, I don't even remember how I got selected, but there was a group of us that left school for the day. We got in a bus and we went somewhere inner city, and we started to clean up a house that was just falling apart because they were going to, I think, Habitat for Humanity was going to do something with it, like clean it up, rebuild it, remodel it. But we were able to do it as a service project, so to speak. And there's kids there, high school kids that I didn't even hang out with all through high school. But that day we were hanging out. And then after that, hey, we should have done this 4 years ago. We could have had 4 years of friendship. But because our groups were different, our interests were different, I was playing sports, they weren't. They were in drama or whatever. Completely different worlds, but yet we came together, and the last month or so or 2 months of school had new friendships, but volunteer together, whether it's cleaning parks, maybe mentoring kids in a sport, that's one thing teams could do is you could have like a team camp where you invite the community in and teach them the sport, play some games, have some fun with them. Foster some pride in the community, some group identity, but do some community service projects. Maybe some mentorship programs where you get together and you assign people, a younger person, to mentor. Skill building workshops could be another thing. Maybe it's not even related to whatever it is that you do. Maybe you just go out and do something fun. Maybe it's like cooking. Maybe it's candle wax, where you make your own candles. I don't know. Something different. Something completely unique where nobody has an expertise in it. Pottery. You're like, man, son, you must be off your rocker. But no, think about it. If everybody is in an equal situation, nobody knows how to make candles. Nobody knows how to do pottery. If we do pottery, it's all going to come out pretty whack, probably. We don't have experience. We're all on equal footing. And now we're building our experience. That's going to be a game changer. You could go bowling. Some people might be better bowlers already. And it's still fun and it's bonding and stuff. But when you're doing something where everybody's at zero skill level and now you try something, that is a game changer, something to consider. And then, of course, you can always do things like dinners, maybe some group traditions. Maybe you get together for a dinner, family dinner is what, Friday nights or something like that. I think the Gilmore Girls, right, they had dinner on Friday nights with the grandparents. So maybe you have your team dinner or your team lunch or your business lunch. Maybe you have a movie night. Maybe you come together and you bring out former players to talk to the team, try to motivate them, remind them of the rich tradition of the program. So there's a lot of things you can do. You just got to be creative. You got to think about it and what fits you and your personality and your people. But team building challenges, community service projects, mentorship programs, skill building workshops, group traditions that celebrate inclusion. These are areas that not only affect you and make you better, but it helps other people. We always talk about bringing out our inner greatness, raising the standard in our lives so that inner greatness can come out. Then we can accomplish things in our community, in the neighborhood. wherever we're at, wherever the impact we can make. And then other people see us do that, and then they want to repeat that, and they do it, and they start their own thing. And now you start to see it goes beyond the team. And the hazing that was negative has now turned into a positive, not only for you and your group, your team, your people, but now it's gone beyond and outside that. And maybe you bring others in. Maybe if you're a baseball team, you include the softball team. If you're a basketball team, maybe it's the men and women's, boys, girls, soccer, same thing. Whatever it might be. The other thing too, though, what you have to do is communicate. You have to have dialogue, conversation that is respectful, that builds trust, that builds safety, that builds a foundation. And that's what a lot of times these exercises do in team building. They will sit there and generate conversation, and conversation then leads to understanding. And then understanding leads to, there was a time where basketball in high school, we would all go after, like in football, when we played football, it was a Saturday game. We always played Saturday night. And when it was a home game, we all met at a Sizzler someplace and we all ate as a team. The coaches were there and the players and everybody involved in the team. And then we go eventually make our way to the stadium for the game. For basketball, when it became the upper levels, we would play later at night, right? Maybe 6, 7:30, depending on the game time. Well, we never had an official team dinner. We didn't come together like football as a team and meet at the place, whatever. It became kind of like an unofficial place. And the unofficial place usually became like this Taco Bell. Well, this corner. It was a Taco Bell. It was an In-N-Out. I think there was something else, some McDonald's there. So we would all kind of meet in this corner, intersection, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And people get whatever, and then we come together and we'd eat. And you can get what you want. And there were times where freshmen would show up. And it was early in the season. And all of a sudden, this freshman shows up. And we're like, who are you? And he explained that he was a freshman. I'm like, okay, whatever. Because freshmen played and practiced outside. They weren't in the gym. They were outside. Upper levels were in the gym. But we included them. Then the next weeks, and as the weeks went by, more and more and more freshman players kind of started to show up. And it became an inclusive thing. And it was all because we accepted one freshman had the courage or the mistake of showing up. Maybe just showed up because he wanted to, like he didn't think everyone was there. But one person showed up and was included, and then therefore the rest of them came. And then the program became a bigger program because everybody was included. And then you get to know them, talk to them, whatever. And then there was an incident, so we all had to race back to school. We had no idea how these kids got there, so we just chucked them in cars and drove them back to school. They were freshmen. They couldn't drive. Maybe their parents dropped them off. I don't know. Maybe their parents were around the corner waiting for them to, make some signal to come pick them up. We just chucked them in the car and took them back because we had to race back to campus for some reason. But again, communication, talking to people, getting to know them, building trust, respect. That safety net where the younger people can rely on the older people. What about just recognition and positive reinforcement? Celebrating the contributions, the teamwork, personal achievements. You can build motivation without fear or shame. Sometimes, though, in the recognition and positive reinforcement, you do have to be a little bit careful because some people will have more recognition because they just perform better. I was looking at stats from a high school baseball team from about 6-7 years ago that I was a part of. And when you look at the stats, there was one player that stood out above and beyond. Hitting 350, on base percentage, nearly 500, slugging percentage, about 450, led the team in doubles, triples, stolen bases. I mean, statistically, hands down, best player on the team. I think was all league and then became all area. And so led the team in hits. And in fact, was at the end of his season was amongst the team, record holders in single season hits. And that type of stuff can be rewarded. But when it's the same person over and over and over, there could be some animosity, especially if people don't understand it. So when it comes to recognitions, my point is that you have to make sure that everybody gets some sort of recognition. When I was coaching youth baseball, at the end of the season, I always came up with awards for everybody. And some of them I just literally made up. So we had our team MVP. We had our Silver Slugger Award. We had our Cy Young, our best pitcher. We had our Gold Glove, maybe one or two, best fielders. Then we had things like the Coaches Award. And then, like I said, I literally just like made up awards, so that everybody got one. So everybody got some sort of achievement. And on the certificate that they got was their achievement. ESPN Highlight Reel Player of the Year. Maybe that person had a couple of good highlights. But that way, everybody was included, everybody was recognized, and everybody was able to take something with them so that then down the road, they look back in the memories. Nobody remembers wins or losses. I can't even tell you how many wins and losses I had. I could look up online my high school records because they're still there. But outside of that, but they remember the other things. They remember the recognition for the things that they've done. And then, of course, for the older people, the younger people, whoever, you can have leadership training. Teach them how to lead by example, first of all, but then teach them how to be leaders. And that leaders are actually servants. Not like you serve people, but you got to be able to serve in order to lead. You got to be able to make those tough decisions. You got to be able to put yourself in it. Put your money where your mouth is what I'm looking for. So again, when you shift from the hazing and all the negative that we discussed to activities that actually bond people together for the good, you avoid the scandals. You avoid the dropouts. You avoid the legal trouble, the negative headlines. I know coaches that have lost their jobs because hazing. They may or may not have even known. Some coaches, they all deny it. A couple coaches I know, they probably knew. Just speculating, not accusing, just speculating. But then there's others that, they probably had no idea because it was beyond them. Unfortunately, the buck stops with the coach, though. So again, you've got some positive things you can do. Now, real quick, let's take a look at the difference between hazing and bullying, because there are two separate things, okay? Ask yourself, what is the difference between hazing and bullying? Well, basically, hazing is the harmful initiation or the maintaining or the maintenance of a ritual tied to a group membership, whether it be a team, whether it be a club, an organization, fraternity, sorority, whatever. It's basically a harmful initiation based on a group identity, group membership. Bullying, on the other hand, is just a mistreatment that's meant to hurt or control someone without any group context. It's the exact same type of behavior. Okay, and both can have serious consequences. Both are definitely wrong. And there should be consequences for those that engage in that behavior. But hazing becomes a little bit more trickier because it hides behind tradition. Like I said earlier, if you're a Major League Baseball player and you're forced to maybe dress up as something, costume of some sort, under a theme, and you have to go run the bases, or you have to carry, if you're a rookie, maybe you have to carry the equipment bag, stuff like that. It's probably healthy, probably okay, rite of passage. Sometimes you would make the younger class do field jobs, do certain field jobs that nobody liked to do, rake the dirt, patch the holes in the ground, whatever. Part of it was learning to take care of the field, respecting the field, not just leaving it to be crappy, but taking care of it. So in some of that, there was responsibility that was being learned. But it was also a rite of passage because as you got older, junior, senior, you're not doing those crappy jobs. You're now riding the tractor that's spinning the dirt around when you're doing the infield. Or you're doing some other things, or maybe you're not even doing anything at all and you're getting some extra BP in the batting cage, whatever. So there are some things, some rites of passage that just happens. But for the most part, you're looking at hazing, bullying, both wrong, both harmful, both can lead to some serious consequences for both the doer and the victim. But hazing can sometimes be a little bit trickier because of that team dynamic. So, for example, hazing is going to be done to join a group or maintain that membership in a group, Whereas bullying is just targeting someone repeatedly over and over and over with harmful intent, and there's no group dynamic to it. Like Aubrey Wyatt, just a 14-year-old girl in Mississippi, had an Instagram account, and apparently 4 other girls in the community in her school just unleashed cyberbullying, in-person bullying, to the point where Aubrey Wyatt took her life. Hazing can be deemed as a rite of passage or tradition, whereas there is no tradition with bullying. It's just exerting power and causing harm. So you can see where this is starting to very fine line, both wrong, but a very fine line. And you can see where outsiders, parents, supporters of the program, boosters, coaches, former players, community members could see where the hazing is kind of like, okay, yeah, that's bad, whatever. Excused is the word. But bullying, oh, that's bad. In hazing, victims could be voluntarily submitting themselves because they want group acceptance. In bullying, victims, they're targeted and they have no willful intent to be a part of that at all. They're targeted against their will when it comes to bullying. When it comes to bullying, the goal is to exclude, humiliate, or dominate the victim. The ultimate goal in hazing is to make that victim the part of the group, even though the methods are harmful. I mean, gangs. I mean, it goes as bad as blood in, blood out, jumped in, jumped out. That's hazing, bullying, whatever you want to call it. However, at some point, there's an acceptance. As bad as gangs are, that criminal element, they're still at a point of acceptance, brotherhood, unity. Same with the military. But bullying, it's just straight up hurtful to the person. Hazing involves physical, emotional, psychological abuse tied to group identity. It's unjustly, wrongfully justified as bonding. Whereas bullying just involves abuse and ongoing harassment. There's no pretense to bonding. It's just about control and harm. So hazing, the harmful initiation or maintenance ritual tied to a group membership. So hazing, harmful initiation for group membership. Bullying, mistreatment meant to hurt or control someone, often without that group context. And again, you got things like, fraternity pledge night, sports teams initiation, club joining rituals, military style drills outside of the military. Those can all be examples of hazing. So instead of having a pledge night where you force members to drink dangerous amounts of alcohol or performing humiliating stunts to prove their loyalty, maybe you have a team bonding experience. It's kind of like icebreakers. I mean, in the classroom, I always like to bring things back to the classroom. A coach is out on the field or in the gym or wherever he's at, coaching his players, right? And a coach is really just a teacher in sports. But they'll get mad, they'll throw things, they'll yell, whatever, and get crazy on a coach, on a player, coaching bullying. In the classroom, they would never get away with that. They would never throw a textbook, turn a chair over because somebody got a C or D. In fact, what they would do is they would probably recommend extra tutoring, more study time, extra credit work, things to help them out, right? That's what would happen in a classroom. So the coach in the sports world can yell, scream, abuse the player. In the classroom would never get away with that, but does things hopefully to support and improve the students' learning. So when you take a look at that in the context of these things, why not look at it from a perspective of teach and the classroom than the sports field or whatever? So if you're going to pledge for a fraternity, maybe you have some fun things and things that they have to go through, but why not teach them the right way to be a part of the fraternity, what it means, the tradition, the history. the whatever you do in a fraternity, the secret handshake, secret knock on the door. Sports teams, same thing. Build tradition. Joining the club. Maybe it's the marching band. Band camp, anyone? Okay. Maybe you instruct and create tradition that's positive. And that's something that everyone can think about in life. So hazing, you've got these, pledge nights, sports teams initiation, joining rituals for a club, military style drills. That's example of hazing. Examples of bullying could be cyberbullying, attacked online with cruel memes or just embarrassing posts or, negative comments online, social media. Physical bullying, beating up on a smaller kid, chucking him in a trash can, knocking his books over, tripping him in the hallway. Things you see on TV all the time, movies all the time. Verbal bullying, constantly calling someone else names, spreading rumors, telling other people not to sit with them at lunch. And then workplace bullying. Same thing, whether it's the manager or coworker, singling out one employee and criticizing them more harshly in meetings. So again, bullying, cyberbullying, and hazing, it's all bad. The only excuse they say is one has to do with a team and group identity and acceptance. That's all bad. So again, when you take a look at all of this, where do you stand? You might ask, that's an odd question. Where do I stand? Of course I'm against it. Are you? There are a lot of people, maybe myself included, that have just accepted things because that's just status quo. But should we allow it to be status quo moving forward? See, and that's the thing that we can learn. As we evolve as a society, if we're even evolving at all, we can learn. And that's the point of history, right? We're supposed to learn history so we don't repeat our mistakes. So why is hazing continuing to going on? Because there's nothing being taught about it. No one is coming out and saying, don't do it. Remember the Me Too movement? It was the Me Too movement that led to things such as producers in Hollywood not taking advantage of women, especially maybe younger starlets wanting to get into the business. Okay. It brought attention to it. It started to change the way business was done, supposedly in Hollywood. So why aren't we out there teaching? Okay, this is not acceptable. Sure, you have the principal, the coach, don't haze. Or the military, right? Don't do the code red from A Few Good Men. Did you order the code red? Damn right I ordered the code red. Didn't think anything twice about it. Even though it was denied, the code red was ordered. That's the type of thing. We got to make sure that the coaches, the teachers, whoever, the chapter presidents out there preaching, this is wrong, hazing's wrong, hazing's wrong, hazing's wrong. Even bullying. But bullying's a little bit harder to control because there's no group identity. There's no group acceptance. There's not a group, a team, fraternity, whatever that you can control. So you have to get out in front of it and be like, know what? This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to preach against. You can join us. These are the things you might have to do to join us, but we're not going to embarrass you. We're not going to humiliate you. We're not going to hurt you for the name of acceptance. Because then what happens? You go through all that and you don't get accepted. You get kicked out. Now what did you just do? Now you probably feel worse off than what you did anyways because you didn't even make the group. So again, it's how we treat people. It goes back to no matter what we do, how do we treat people? And it comes down to the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And in fact, it should be do unto others better than you want them to do unto you. Set the standard. Raise the standard. Bring out that inner greatness so that others then will raise the standard and treat others better than they want to be treated. And then it keeps going and going and going. This is Two Steps Ahead podcast, and I do encourage you, my friend, to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. Some information about the show, you can check out our website, radiowarp.com. That's radio, W-A-R-P, radiowarp.com. Lots of things there for you to check out, including past shows. You can click on the Two Steps Ahead podcast logo. Our past shows will pop up. You've got the video form right there on the website. Then you've got a link that goes across the center of the page that you click on it. It will take you to our audio page. You can download those episodes, take them with you on the go. You can also check out other things on the website as well, other podcasts and ventures I'm involved in. You can listen anywhere you do listen to podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, iHeartMedia Podcasts. I mean, any place and every place. You can do an internet search of TWO, Two Steps Ahead Podcast, and we pop up. Hey Siri, hey Google, hey Alexa, and we pop up. The email, twostepsaheadpodcast@gmail.com, twostepsaheadpodcast@gmail.com. And again, the two is always TWO, but you can reach out, say hi, whatever. And especially, this is the other thing, and also on social media, at Two Steps Ahead Podcast, social media, you can DM, message, all that stuff. But especially if you are going through something and you have no place to turn to, you think you're by yourself, I'm alone in this world type of mentality. You're not. I invite you to reach out. If I can't help you, I can definitely listen. But if I personally can't help you, I might know people that can. Maybe know people in your community, or maybe point you in a direction that you don't see that can help you. So reach out. You should never have the ability of there is nobody to turn to, because I'm right here. I will do what I can, as much as I can, to help you. So just reach out. There's always somebody there, and that somebody can be me. But again, you've got the website, radiowarp.com. You've got the email, twostepsaheadpodcast@gmail.com. You've got the social media. You can listen anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. You can do an internet search. I mean, we're pretty easy to find. And so I encourage you to reach out. But more importantly, I encourage you to be able to take that standard that you have, whatever it is, raise it up a little bit, make it better, because we all have inner greatness in us. We want to bring that out. We want to take our passion, whatever that might be. We want to make it happen. For some of us, that passion might be a part-time thing, a hobby, something we do on the side. We got our business that we have to do. We have a job that we have to go to, whatever it might be. But then, and maybe that's our passion too. But maybe we have another passion for something else. Maybe we have two passions, a work passion. Teachers often say they're passionate about teaching. If you are, that's great. If you were at one time and now you're not, maybe you should rethink what you're doing or find that passion again. But make it happen. Become the best you. We just did a podcast. Our last podcast was Becoming a Better You, the journey to becoming a better you, episode 226. If you need some help on that, check out episode 226, how to become a better you. But you can do it. We can all do this together, because our communities, our neighborhoods, our next generation, there's people hurting out there. There's people that need mentors. There's people that need positivity. And we can be the ones that bring that positivity to the ones that need it, to the masses. So again, Two Steps Ahead podcast, encouraging you, take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. I'm Son Edom. Hey, thanks for listening. Do tell a friend. Until next time, God bless.